Hey everybody, I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching The Sit Down. Michael Imperioli here with us, talking Sopranos, his brand new podcast. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm pretty good. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there. Plenty of time to listen
Yeah.
and watch things right now. So I'm sure it's a weird time to be doing all this, but also kind of necessary to take everybody's mind off everything going on outside.
Well, we were not going to do it after the world changed and turned upside down. You know, we just announced we were doing this podcast at the end of February, and the plan was to record in a studio in New York City, end of March, release in April. And then in the middle of March, everything changed, and we said, you know, let's forget this. Who needs this now in the midst of all this? It's so unimportant. Let's wait till everything calms down. And then started getting a lot of correspondence from social media saying, hey, we're in quarantine, we're in place, binging The Sopranos, where's the podcast? Like a lot of fans. So our producers figured out a way for us to do it remotely, and that's what's happening.
That's awesome. So why is this group so passionate? When you think about this fan base, like what separates them from other groups in your opinion?
Well, one of the reasons we decided to do this is that in the last year and a half, a whole other generation of viewers have gotten turned on and obsessed with this show. I'm talking about kids as late teens, 20s, and early 30s who were too young to watch it when it first was on the air, who were really, really into it. You go on social media and there's fan pages and meme pages and all kinds of stuff. And that you can't really predict. You know, we had a loyal fan base that watched it when it was on, who, you know, made pasta Sunday nights with their family and friends and ordered pizzas and watched every Sunday night. And they've kind of grown older with us. And we've done events over the years, in conversation events, live and appearances, and we meet our fans. And they're kind of in our age group. But then this whole other generation, you know, came on board. That's really blown me away, you know, the fact that it can transcend that, you know, which could transcend these generations, and that doesn't normally happen. I'm asked all the time why that is.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it so popular? And you know, I don't really have an answer, you know. Besides that, it's very good, you know. It's just really, you know, part of me would say the nostalgia, and people have these happy memories of when it was first on the air, but obviously that's not exclusive. So I guess it just really was a benchmark in terms of quality for television, acting, writing, directing, and filmmaking. So and some of it's kind of mysterious why it's got this appeal.
Yeah, it's funny that it's still mysterious all those years later, but you know, when you kind of peel back the layers, the complexity of the storylines, the fascination with the characters, the lifestyle, there's just all these different little entry points depending on who you are, where you live, and how you consume the show, it seems like.
Yeah, and it has a really, really broad fan base.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it appeals to all types of people in different stratas of society and all over the world. I mean, I got a message from a fan in Libya.
Oh my gosh,
you know,
that's nuts.
I mean, yeah, who watches The Sopranos? I guess in, you know, whatever language they speak there.
Wow. So I just told you I was talking to Steve, and like you start this thing in season 1, like you didn't really know what it was. You didn't know if it was like supposed to be this serious drama, it was supposed to be this spoof. Like, what do you remember about just the early days of like you guys trying to find your footing in season 1?
Well, there's two stages to that, because the pilot we shot on its own without seeing any other episode, without seeing any other scripts. 1997 in the summer, we shot that pilot. And yes, we did not really fully comprehend what the tone, what the possibilities were. I liked it. I didn't really, you know, think it was the greatest thing of all time, but I liked it. And I liked the cast a lot. It wasn't until the show got picked up and we went back a year later to finish season 1. Script after script kept getting better, and like you said, more intricate and more complicated and just more interesting. And during that filming of the first season, I realized, wow, we're onto something special. Whether or not people are going to watch it, that was another story, because series for cable were not really a big thing then.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't sure if people were going to see this thing.
Yeah, and only so many people had HBO at that point too.
Exactly. And, series were on network television. And when it came on the air finally in January of 99, the reviews were outrageously good. I mean, across the board. I mean, hyperbolic, to the point where Saturday Night Live did a spoof about the reviews of The Sopranos. They didn't do a spoof of the show when it first came out. They did a spoof about the reviews because they were ridiculous. And that's when I knew, all right, something's going to happen with this.
Had you rewatched the show before all this? Like Steve had kind of separated from it seems like, for a while. Had you checked out episodes, or did you kind of need some space from it?
I haven't watched them since the initial airing.
Wow.
So that was another decision, a thing that influenced my decision to do a podcast was like, okay, it's an opportunity to really revisit this with distance and, the benefit of hindsight. And that I like that idea. So I'm reliving it with the fans at the same time. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, I think rewatches are fascinating for a number of different reasons. So where you guys are at right now with season 1, like what pops out to you the most that maybe you didn't realize in the moment with all this?
How much we've aged, how cruel the years have been in terms of that. Be honest, it's very bittersweet. Some of the people, both in front of and behind the camera, are not with us anymore. I mean, most notably James Gandolfini. So it's more sweet than bitter, I'll say, because there's so many pleasant memories. But it's a little bit hard as well.
Yeah, from everything I've heard people talk about James, just this incredible man, amazing actor. What are the stories you love to tell? Because you spent so much time with him. So Steve's telling the story about like James is handing out the checks when he gets his new deal with The Sopranos. But like, what are the stories that pop to mind for you?
I mean, the first day I shot with him, I think it was the first day of the pilot, or my first day on the pilot. I didn't know him. I knew a lot of the other actors from acting school, from plays and independent movies and Goodfellas and stuff. I didn't know Jim, and I didn't know his work really. And my first scene, I had to drive him. And that was Christopher's job, basically. But Michael didn't know how to drive. So that was, but I didn't tell anybody that because I thought it would affect my getting hired. And I smashed the car during a take, and pretty badly. And I thought, I'm dead. I'm gonna get fired. I mean, this guy's the star of the show. He probably thinks I'm an idiot. And the airbags popped. It was just kind of a mess, and he just started cracking up laughing.